Hello everyone, this is Hannah and this is the screencast for my web animation, and throughout this magical mystery tour I will be taking you throughout my website and explaining the codes and various whatnots that went into making this. So, my code is very simple in theory. As you can see, it's a basic menu layout. These guys are of course adorable. This guy signifies that you are in fact here on this page, and he has no clickable link. These ones, however, are clickable links. The words are not clickable, but they are. And they will take us along the website. And here, of course, we have the mini-me versions, just for size sake. This is the About page, and it'll basically say what I'm going to be saying throughout this entire thing. This is part of my web animation project. Showcase simple animation using HTML and CSS coding, which we'll be getting into when we look at Dreamweaver. It also advises the viewer to go to this link and to this link to look at the original source, which is csscreatures.com, and a YouTube link which will contain this video. Moving on, we have the code for the main page. Not these 4 pages, they all use a template and they have different divs, obviously to contain the text and the videos and various other things. But this code, that HTML code, and this insanely long CSS, which I'll try and go through as best I can, are about this page, because this is where most of the work went into, and this is basically the magnum opus of all the HTML I have ever done. So, as you can see, this is the basic HTML, and this is which isn't too long in retrospective, it's just because it's all stacked. And this is the CSS, which is, I think, a little bit longer when we go into Dreamweaver, and I'll go into that more then. CSS Creatures was the site I took inspiration from. We'll be going into it in a minute. That's a lovely picture of it there. It was developed by Bennett Feely, and it was basically make your own CSS creature is what it advertised. How you did it was you tweeted Bennett Feely at CSS Creatures via Twitter, obviously, and you requested a color, a behavior, and then you could go into different things. You could say, I wanted to have a mustache, I wanted to have 3 eyes and 5 teeth specifically, and he would do it. And according to the site, he would do it in up to 25 seconds. I haven't tried it yet because I obviously don't have a Twitter account, but all these people did. They're there. They're not nearly as cute as mine. Moving on, this is where the YouTube video is going to be once I finish this. We obviously couldn't have it in now because YouTube section. But and you click on the thing and it works. It's a thing of beauty, isn't it? Come on guys, you know the words. That's nice, Rick. Okay, we are now in Dreamweaver, which is where all the magic happens, and this is the CSS for the index page, which is the first page I showed you, which is where the majority of the code is. With regards to the other pages with the template and the CSS, that was mainly copy and pasted from this CSS and just sized down, and then divs and navs were included to hold the text and the video and the photo. So I'm not going to go into those too much. I will show them to you, but this is my main concern. I'm not going to go too much into the basic stuff like the body and the H1 because this is all very, very basic. The creature's nav here, that is what contains all this. It contains the figure class, which I'll be showing you in a minute when we go into the HTML, and the eyes, the mouth, and the "you are here" sign, and the various other indications of which link goes where. It's very basic. It basically just sets an area for each circle to go into, and then within that circle, or square in this case, don't ask me why it does that, we have the figure class, which is where we set the color and which is where we can define the animation, which I'll be going to in a second. To make it the circle, I basically used the border radius of 50%. That's why it's a square currently, I think. The shadows is just a basic box shadow in the background. Nothing too complicated there. The sway animation was a little tricky. That's when they're just immobile, where they're just standing there looking pretty, saying "click me." I have it as an infinite so that it keeps going, but I was having problems with that initially, which was to do with the eye blink. You probably noticed when we were looking at them, the eyes blink every so often. However, when I was trying to make the blinks look more natural, I had to have it linear, which means it only blinked at the beginning of the page setting up, and to make it blink I would have to refresh the page, which obviously isn't a great animation. But if I had it infinite, it would just rapidly keep blinking because I had it at 0.3 seconds. So a third of a second was the rate it was going at. And that was all defined down here. This is the eye blink animation and this is the sway animation, which is basically, it uses keyframes, which was something I hadn't encountered before. I got used to it, kind of. Basically, it rotated the eyes and in this case the actual figure space. In the case of the eyes, it would go from 70% to 75%, no more than that because that's what I specified. And in this case, the figure would go 5 degrees to the right and then 5 degrees to the left. And then the jump animation is very similar. I had to call it hyper because it wouldn't work with any other name. I'm not entirely sure why, but that's what it is. I have it so he will jump every second while the hyper nav is used, and he'll go from 25% of the height to 75% of the height. Just keep going up and down like that. And these are obviously so you can work them in different browsers. WebKit is Chrome, Firefox, etc., etc. How are the figures? They move slightly. You click on them, stuff happens. The mouth had to have its own div, as did the eyes, and the mouth obviously undergoes a change when you go into the hyper, because that's what I specified. This is the source code for it. As you can see, there's a lot of divs and a lot of navs, and I had to go through each one to make sure they all worked, because if I take away an eye, he only has one eye. Right, if I take away the mouth, he doesn't have a mouth. That kind of idea. Everything has to be put in. Now, this guy is our current page. He's our "you are here." So to make him jump, I had to add the class hyper to the figure nav, which is what I was talking about when I was going through the CSS. For the hyper animations to work, you have to have hyper in the fig nav. If the hyper isn't there, it just goes through the sway animation, which is what I'm going to talk about now in terms of the template. Editable areas were pretty basic, just the majority, the lower half of the body essentially. The CSS was incredibly similar, just different things for different kinds of content. All the animation stuff was the same. And as you can see here, the text is editable for certain amounts of space. The little words underneath the figures is editable, just in case I needed to change the "you are here" location. And the links are changeable, and the figure nav is changeable for when I have to put the hyper in there to make it go up and down, etc., etc. CSS is the same for all of them. There's only slight differences, and that's mostly to do with the lower half of the code. Well guys, that's basically it. That is my CSS web animation. I hope you liked it. I hope the screencast is received well. And I'll see you guys next time, I guess.